Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day or had a great day, and welcome back to Theonopolis. So today we are building some infested houses because when a plague happens it's always more creepy when it's in an urban area, because then you get that feeling of like zombie apocalypse. And yes, if you checked in the background, there is a pile of corpses there. Yeah, they're made mostly of like the dragon shit. Yes, that's an item in the game. And then just piled it with mummies. Yeah, it was a fun time building that. But before we actually get into the building, I have to say this area might be haunted. And before you think I have completely lost it, which, I mean, understandable considering my channel, but when I opened up the park, and of course because I'm building right here, it opens up right here. But when I opened it up, there was this female scream, like not eardrum shattering scream, but just noticeable if you weren't doing anything. So I first thought, oh, I opened up the park, it's a big park, maybe something with like the sound effects of the train that's near this area might have, distorted, or some sound on the coaster. I have checked that. None of those things could make that sound. Then of course I thought, oh, maybe something in my house might have made that sound. No, nobody in my house could have made that sound. And then of course I thought like, alright, the park opened up, sounds get distorted, and then they get kind of smoothed out. So I thought like, oh, maybe the train was the cause of it. But literally 5 seconds after I heard that sound, I saw that there was no train nearby. So I have no idea what could have made that sound, and it happened 3 times. 2 times like 2-3 minutes after each other. The 4th or the 3rd time it was like half an hour later, and I'm still a little bit freaked out. However, don't worry, it wasn't in this recording or this footage that you're seeing right now, because it happened today. This footage is from yesterday, so don't worry, your place is not going to get haunted. However, if I stop communicating at all during, this recording or any day from now, yeah, I might be trapped in this park. I mean, that happens sometimes, though mostly because I want to build and I forget the time, and then I suddenly realize it's 5 days from now. Yeah. Anyway, I quickly also want to ask, has anything like this kind of weird happened to you guys while you're building, or am I seriously the only one? It really doesn't help the case that I'm building in like the creepy area of Theonopolis, or at least the creepy coaster of Theonopolis. If you don't realize it by now, yes, I'm really still creeped out, and I don't believe in like the supernatural thing, but just I couldn't explain it, so I'm just thoroughly freaked out, and I try to, make sense of it, but it just doesn't work. So again, has anything like this ever happened to you? Or has there some other weird thing happened to you while playing Planet Coaster? Because, yeah, I'm really now just like, why? Because again, it didn't happen only once, it happened 3 times. Not the complete same sound, but still the sound of like a woman, or at least a high-pitched scream. Yeah, this recording today is going to be kind of weird because, again, I'm still freaked out. But I probably should get back to whatever we're building today. Anyway, so for the houses today, as I said in the beginning, I wanted to have the coaster have a really urban feel because it's a little bit more scary if like a plague happens in an urban area, because then you have like mass hysteria and everything. Like if it happens in like a rural area, it's a little bit more toned down. But then of course I also said in the last video, with plagues and such, or just any kind of like rampant disease, you don't really see it a lot on the buildings itself. Though I want to have a little bit of visibility, so I'm boarding up the windows. Though for, well, the disease or the plague I'm referencing is the plague of Athens, which might have been a typhoid or typhus plague, and those aren't really, you know, I don't really have a description of how a place would have looked when those things were rampant, so I really just went with the most visible, or at least the most, to my knowledgeable, visible plague that I know of, which is of course the Black Plague. So for Theonopolis, it was hit with the Black Plague. Because then you could board up the windows, you could see that there is like a red splatter on the door, which actually is a little bit more creepy than you might think. Because a red splatter on the door, or at least red paint on the door, usually meant that there was like, that the house or the inhabitants of the house were affected by the Black Death, or I think it's the bubonic plague that they say, but they're still like not completely 100% sure of it. Which usually meant, well, there's still people alive inside, dying, and just, yeah. Also, you might have already seen that I built just corpses laying around, because of course when it comes with, you know, plagues and just mass hysteria and just a huge body count, then, you know, burying people isn't really the most, well, I wanted to say most obvious thing, but the most, you know, well, not the first thing coming to people's minds. Of course, because the body count is also just completely overrunning what the officials or government or any kind of institution could bear. So yeah, if you look at the right also, in like the split seconds that it is shown, because I have built a lot further for today, or at least from the last video, that I'm probably not going to show all of you, but it's just a lot more of like urban feel, a lot more closed in. But I've also made a reference to just that sometimes corpses would be piled up in the foundation of like walls and such. And that's actually what you go through with this coaster. Because instead of making it a bridge, I made it into sort of like a wall-ish thing, and then broken it up, and then there's just piles of corpses in. So yeah, you're literally walking over the dead. Again, this area, together with whatever scream I heard today, isn't helping my sanity. Think I will be referencing that the whole video. Again, if any of you guys have something similar happening to you, or happened to you, I hope it's not still happening to you, please tell me. Or if you're in any way like believe in like ghosts and such. Because I generally don't. But I still get freaked out when something happens that I can't explain. I still hope it was just like train sounds messing up. Anyway, for the rest of the buildings, I'm not really going into like, you know, boarding it up, because I've already shown you guys how I do that. Which is literally just putting a lot of planks on the doors and windows. And then with that red splatter, which again is quite a lot creepier than usually thought of. Because it really means that either the house is filled with the dead and it's, yeah, the bodies haven't been collected yet, or there's still people dying inside. And yes, the healthy were cooped up with the sick, so high chance that if, let's say, your brother had the plague, you would know you would die from him. Because, yes, I think 3/4 of like the population of Europe died when the Dead Plague, or the Black Death, not the Death Plague, but the Black Death striked. So yeah, some things in Europe are literally built on corpses. And yes, sometimes they still find mass graves. Again, this area is really not helping with my sanity. But back to the houses and such, because I think if I don't stop myself talking about the dead and whatever creepy thing happened today, I might not talk about anything else this entire video, and that's not really useful, but then again, my videos are usually not useful. Anyway, I still wanted to go through like a lot of buildings or a lot of like near clashes with buildings, so it's really barely grazing or barely not grazing this building, which is a simple house, just a little bit more wooden than most of the other houses in Theonopolis, because again, this is the kind of like the intersection between the more industrial area and the more rural area, or the more, you know, outskirts of Theonopolis. So I'm still a little bit debating because those beams don't look the most stable. But then again, it sort of works. And now back to building a very fancy looking building, because I mean, if you were rich, you might have, you know, gone an estate or palace or something closer to the, well, outskirts of the city, because then you wouldn't be enveloped in, well, all the busyness and all the bad effects of the centrum of the city, or central city. Because even though the Greeks were, well, they did use like baiting and such, and were a little bit more hygienic than, let's say, Middle Ages, because, well, that was not the cleanest period. At least from what I know. There were still like bathhouses, but, well, shit was still thrown out in the street. So if you were unlucky, you would actually, you know, walk underneath it while it was thrown out of the door or window above you. Window probably, because door to nothing is, well, that's actually a thing in like the, I think, a Windsor house, or not Windsor, the Winchester house somewhere in America, where you have like doors and windows leading to nowhere, or at least windows like up into brick walls and doors that literally don't go anywhere. I'm going back to like haunted things. I should stop myself. Anyway, for this house, there's a little bit of a wooden aspect, just because, you know, to make it fit in. Also, the coaster, again, almost goes into the building. Like, it almost crashes, but right when you like think like, oh, you're going to crash into the building, it sweeps away. And for me, that really makes it feel like, you know, you're the plague and you're going from building to building. Yeah, that's really the feeling that I wanted to have with this coaster. That you're not visiting or not like seeing the plague, you are actually the disease itself. So, again, I don't think I don't know if I want to make an entire area that's like a bit more creepy and such, but it might work. It might actually be something interesting for Theonopolis, because a lot of like mythical legends and stories surrounding, well, ancient Greece can be quite creepy. I mean, I think there's like a monster or some kind of monster that literally eats children. I think every culture has one of those. Like a woman or a man just, you know, eating naughty or bad children. I think no culture is like completely safe from those kinds of stories. Though I also don't believe that those were, well, real. I mean, I don't think any of those stories were real, but I think most of all those stories were probably invented by the parents just so you were... I wanted to say you're hellspawn, but that might not be the best word. But that your children behave. Because otherwise you get eaten. Why actually threaten children with death? That's another question. Why, to keep your children in line, do you got to threaten them with either death or abduction? Anyway, so for the rest of this building, it's actually just completely against like the rural area feel. Again, because I want to make it feel like, oh, this is someone's like outside or like winter or some kind of like retreat that he or she would go to when the city just became too much for him. But then of course it's a very urban area still here, so you felt at that, buddy. But it's still showing like when it comes to diseases and such, they strike rich and poor no matter what. If I'm correct, like the most like medicinal thing that was completely wrong but still like maintained as like gospel for like medicine was actually created by the Greeks with like bloodletting and such. So yeah, that might have actually made everything worse, because of course when you, well, cut open yourself to let blood out, you of course get weaker, and then disease strikes much easier. But then again, back then it was also, you know, if you were sick, go to Apollo or whatever god of medicine or healing. Which, I mean, if you survive, that would probably be attributed to, oh yeah, you were saved by whatever god or goddess. And then, yeah, weird. But it does help with like making this Temple of Apollo, which I'm going to do off screen. This is going to be the last episode of this coaster, because most of the things I will build from now on for this coaster are quite the same as I've shown so far. And I've just, you know, I don't really have something new to show you guys, so I just thought, alright, I will build the rest off screen. I am probably unable to post anything this weekend, so I just thought like, alright, let's have a build weekend where I just build for hours straight. That might also be a reason that you might not hear from me for at least this week. So that doesn't help. If you don't hear from me, either I'm taken by whatever ghost haunts this place in the park, or I'm just on a crazy squirrel build vibe, feeling, thing. So yeah, this is going to be the last video on this coaster, and afterwards I will, hopefully when this area is finished, because it's a little bit bigger than I thought it was. There were a little bit more buildings that I wanted to add. But afterwards, if this area is complete, I will try to make a POV of it and then show it to you guys. But anyways, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you don't get haunted. And again, has anything ever like this or anything other that's weird happened to you while you were building in Planko? I would love to know, because I'm still creeped out. Anyway, hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Of course, if you like this video, I hope to also see you back in the next one. See ya!